Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this Tuesday morning before Thanksgiving. I know everybody's getting ready to cook that big old turkey and getting excited about this Thanksgiving holidays, and so are we. But today, now we have a great show lined up, special guests here, of course. But first, our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center. It's going to be sort of mild weather, high of 66 and low of 43. Our water temperature is still hanging around 65 degrees. That's all important. We'll talk about that an awful lot on the show, the importance of this water temperature. Let's take a look at your tide chart, brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Look on the screen there on Tuesday. Good, strong tides today and really on through Thanksgiving and even good on the weekend. Low tide at 8:55 this morning and a high tide at 10:39 tonight. So a good tidal movement there, be coming in like that. And a lot of things, those redfish should be out there. You can still find some of them in certain areas. Let's look at the, let's go and do our fish and game times. Well, I don't have them ready right now. We'll go ahead and let's take a break, and we're going to come back with our special guest. Hi, welcome back, and welcome to Lieutenant Stan Kirkland.
Good morning, Winston. Good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you. And listen, I don't know if you folks know, but Stan's getting ready to retire, and he's winding down his career with the FWC. In fact, this is the last show that he and I are going to do together. You all going to come on again and introduce, tell us what you're going to do.
I'll be on with you in December,
okay.
And we've my replacement's already been hired.
You mean they can replace you?
Oh yeah, they'll be fine, I'm sure. It'll be somebody that's more energetic and, and a gung-ho. A young lady, Becca Nelson, has been hired. Becca's a local person here in the community. She works for right now with Channel 13 TV. She's got a journalism background, loves to hunt fish, but she's going to be on, and so I'll be on with her, but we'll introduce her and go. Well, it'll be hers.
They've all told me that Stan Kirkland can't be replaced, but I guess they're going to try to anyway.
So
anyway, so this is our last show together, just you and I. But even when you retire, we're going to talk about that later on. About some of you got some good plans, all kind of neat things you're going to be doing and all.
Right. So. Yep, I'm like you. I've started a book. I haven't finished it yet, but I've started a book. Mine's just about some of the things that have happened over the years and things that you tell people about, and they just don't believe you. But they're things that are out there. So
that trip we took together at Fontana Lake, and we had about a 10-hour trip, and Stan told me some of those stories, and they are hilarious, and some of them hard to believe, but. That'll be a fun project. So I'll have you come on. We'll talk some about that when you're getting ready and tell some of those stories.
I'll tease people with this one. I had one day I'm sitting in my office and I had a guy knock on the door, and he convinced me to come outside, and he had about a 6 or 7 foot alligator looking out the window of his Tahoe, staring at me, and he had brought us an alligator that he didn't want anymore, and it wasn't tied up. It was just looking out the window. And I said, I think I've seen it all. And I asked him, I said, what would you have done if the thing jumped from the rear seat to the front seat while you were crossing Hathaway Bridge? Because he came from Bay Point. And his response was, he said, Mr. Stan, that'd have been a mess. And I said, yeah, probably so. Yeah.
That is a funny story. You told me that story. That was funny.
Yeah. A lot of good things happen.
Okay, so what's going on now? What else been going on? With FWC and all, you got anything in particular we need to know of?
Well, the one thing, Winston, I was going to mention is, and I don't know if you've mentioned this on your show, but there is something that's good for people to save money, and Governor Scott announced this recently, and that is a reduction in the cost of a lifetime license. If you've got somebody in your family that's 21 and younger, and you have got $500, you can buy a lifetime license which covers almost everything which involves freshwater fishing, saltwater fishing, hunting, And the license is good even if you move out of Florida.
That's important right there.
Even if you relocate to any other state, if you want to come home, you don't buy a license. It's good. I'm telling you, it's a wonderful thing. But if it's been reduced from $1,000 to $500 from November 25th through the end of December, through December 31. So you can go to our website, myfwc.com. You can look and see there's just a couple of simple requirements. One is a birth certificate, a Social Security card for the person, and there's one or two other things that you need. One of the parents have to go in and sign with the person, with the child, to get this lifetime license. But again, ought to take advantage of it. Pam and I have already talked about doing this for one of our grandchildren.
Yes, and that is so important to do that. That's really, really good stuff.
When you realize that if you buy a license in a year, you can spend $100 for the, if you muzzle load, if you turkey hunt, if you hunt on management areas, when you add all this stuff in, you can spend $100 a year. So in 10 years, you can spend $1,000 on licenses.
Well,
so that's why.
We figured up a 15-year-old, I did on the show here, 15 years old to age 65, that's 50 years. So that's $5,000 compared to $500. So you can save $4,500.
I'm telling you, it's a good deal, and I suspect we will sell a lot of these. But it's just to promote interest and encourage people to take young people and get them involved in the outdoor pursuits.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. Stan brought some pictures. You're going to really enjoy some of these pictures, so we'll be right back. Welcome back. Sitting here with Stan Kirkland. We're talking about Stan brought some pictures, so we're going to go and start showing some of these pictures. These are some classics. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Who is this guy here?
Well, this was made in the dark ages. Somebody told me I looked like I had Clark Gable hair. I don't know about that, but I had dark hair and weighed about 60 pounds less than I do now. But I was with Carl Obar. Carl still lives over in Gulf County, and he and I were riding together that day. Carl was a wildlife management technician on the Ed Ball wildlife on the Ed Ball area, and we were riding around, and this alligator ran out in the road and kind of stopped, and so I got out and caught the alligator. And then we took him down to a creek and turned him loose. We just kept him from getting killed. So
I know you duct taped him, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I had put tape around him. Yeah, I'm not fond of being bitten, so that's the first thing I did. I don't want him riding in the cab with us without being taped. That's for sure. This photo, the one coming up here with I don't know if we can get it. It's not responding.
It's not responding that well now. So. But, okay, here we go. We got it up now.
All right. This photo is Eddie White. Eddie is a co-worker, and Eddie's retiring the same time, December 31. Eddie is in Tallahassee, and Eddie has been the person that's always handled licenses and quota permits. Eddie has been the go-to guy, and I can't tell you how many hundreds, if not thousands of calls Eddie's gotten from quota permit. But Eddie was holding a deer. I don't know if you can go back to that, but we were capturing deer that night on the Joe Bud management area, and that's a net in the background. We have to run these deer down, or you have to tackle these deer inside an enclosure. You lure them into the enclosure, and then we were relocating deer over to Escambia County, and actually. What you don't see there is the deer had just butted Eddie between the eyes, and that's his hat that is below the deer's neck. And in fact, right after I made that photo, there's a trickle of blood runs down Eddie's nose because it busted his forehead when she banged him in the head. But,
that's funny talking about that Joe Bud reservation.
Joe Bud.
Yeah, right. I know the Bud family. I knew the family.
And you're from that area. Yeah, that's right.
And they were the earliest people that really were protecting deer many years ago, and it showed because they had a huge population.
That's exactly right.
So y'all just bought them from them, or just
what we did was the state of Florida ended up purchasing the Joe Bud
from the
area. The family sold the property. The state purchased it. There were too many deer on the area.
Yeah.
They had some hunts, but they also it was an area that we used to relocate deer to other areas of the state. We moved over 100 deer from the Bud area over to Escambia County.
Okay.
And that was some of the deer that we caught. We actually had another employee that night that was run over by a deer while I was there.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a photo of him. This guy was in his 60s, and it actually, he had some pretty serious injuries. He had to go to the hospital, but
Well, that Joe Bud property, for you folks that don't know, ran along the little river where it emptied into Lake Talco, and there was some beautiful.
Oh, it still is.
And that was old tobacco money.
Right.
Coal
Right.
money. He had a really
Yeah,
nice.
and that's where the name comes from, Joe Bud.
Mr. Joe Bud, yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Okay,
And a beautiful area.
All right. What about this group of guys right here?
Well, this was Captain Don Arnold over on the left, a guy named Buck Bishop there in the gray, and then Sergeant Clayton Gilmore and Bill Braxton. This was a law enforcement operation where we see some alligator hides. Unfortunately, Buck Bishop, who lived over in Walton County, was killed in an accident right after this. But these were some hides that were seized in that area. Sergeant Gilmore there on the second from the right was my first supervisor, and Bill Braxton was an officer up in Walton County, or Holmes County, excuse me. And unfortunately, Bill was killed in an accident not long after this photo was made. He was flying with a friend in an aircraft, and they struck a power line up on I-10. Bill was my roommate going through school. When I went through rookie school, Bill was a character. He took me wade fishing while we were supposed to be studying late one afternoon. He took me wade fishing down to the coast. I had never done that, and I caught a 5-pound speckled trout my first trip, and I was hooked. I was really hooked.
That would do it.
Yes, I'm telling you, I'd never seen a trout. I didn't know they got that big, but
now a lot of folks, Stan was born and raised in Jackson County, and then went to Auburn. And
right.
You got your degree from Auburn.
Yeah, and one of the things that told us, Winston, is when I went through one particular professor, he said, I'll never forget this. He said, managing wildlife is pretty straightforward. He said it's a pretty straightforward science. Wildlife has to have food, shelter, protection, or water protection. But he said the tough part is the people part. He said people want, they want unlimited, unfettered access. They want things that are not necessarily good for wildlife. And it really hit me. And I always believed that people would always depend on the recommendations of biological staff and the agencies, but it really hit me when I came to work. The first time it really, a light came on that how true those words were, was when we moved those deer to Escambia County. This group of outdoorsmen that wanted us to move these deer also wanted wild hogs. Now you got to remember, this was in 1978 and 79. And our agency resisted. We said, wait a minute. Even then, we said, wait a minute. Hogs are not, you don't move feral hogs. We got enough problems. Even then, we had problems with hogs. And a state representative got involved. And he said, I want you to put hogs over there for these people. And again, the agency, through our leadership, said, wait a minute, listen, this is not a good idea, and here's why. And the bottom line is, we were told to go ahead and make it happen.
Wow.
So we caught tons of hogs, as we were directed to do, and moved them from Myakka State Park. We moved them over there, and within 6 months, they were in farmers' fields rooting up peanuts, and then we got the orders to go catch them. And we spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to undo the problems caused by somebody not listening. Anyway.
We see the same thing in education. You get politicians involved in it, and they're not looking for what's best for the program. They're the politicians, same way in education. They don't know much about it, but they think they do. So the same situation there. You got a politician involved, and then that's tough.
Politics and wildlife don't mix, and you gotta one thing I would say is, and it's true time after again, you really need to lean on your biological and your law enforcement staff from agency for the best ideas.
Real quick, this next picture here.
I got a call one morning. This guy here on the right, his name is Ricky Cruz. Ricky, I think, still lives in Holmes County in the Gritney area. His father was L.D. Cruz, and his father called me, and he told me I should go up there. Now, that's Boyd Weaver, Bunny Weaver, that Bunny was a wildlife technician, and Bunny and I went up there. This guy told me they had killed a deer that weighed over 200 pounds, and I'd never seen a deer that big in Florida, and I really doubted it, but he insisted I come, and we got up there, and they weighed the deer. That deer weighed 233 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
And to be killed in Holmes County, it was quite a deer. And Ricky later, I haven't talked to Ricky in a number of years, but he became I believe he became a county commissioner later. I know his father died some years ago, but good people, good family, and in fact, one of his cousins or somebody, I can't remember the relationship to Ricky, but they came by the office not too long ago and spoke to me.
Well, did he mount this deer? You think?
Yes, he did. Now, unfortunately, their house caught on fire not long after he got the mount. The house caught on fire, and they lost everything.
Real quick, as a biologist, how do you explain how that deer that big got in that area?
Good genetics and got old.
Yeah.
That's just a deer that had plenty to eat. He had good genes, but it was just, I felt like you're looking at an animal from Georgia or Kentucky or somewhere, north. I mean, you just don't see 233-pound deer.
All right, we're going to take a break. I said a lot more pictures. We'll be right back. First, though, look at our fishing game forecast for today. If you're going out today, it's brought to you by Mark Coward, Edgewater Beach Realty. We're looking at our times at 2:05 a.m. to 4:05, and then this evening from 2:33 to 4:33. So take advantage of those if you can. It's going to be a lot of fun out there. Now, Stan, let's go continue on these pictures.
Just some interesting photos and things. This was flatheads moved into the Apalachicola River. The first one we saw was in 1981. This is one that was caught by a lady from Bluntstown. Her name is Lucretia Leith. This fish was a state record, weighed 34.44 pounds, and she caught it one night, and her boyfriend was named Wayne Porter. And they invited me, the next photo, they invited me to come up and go fishing with them one night. So this is Wayne and Lucretia, and we had the biggest we caught that night. We fished from dark till about 2 in the morning, or 1:30 or 2 in the morning. The biggest flathead we had there, we had 3 flatheads. The biggest was 19 pounds, and we had a channel cat that weighed almost 13 pounds.
Wow.
But all of those were caught on bluegill or shellcracker that were big enough to eat. And it was, flatheads are in some of our rivers now, but I had never done that before. But thanks to Lucretia and Wayne, and Wayne has since passed away, but thanks to them and their invitation to be able to go and do this, it just made it all real.
That's cool.
And it's just like anything. You need a chance to experience. You
That's
can be
cool.
told about it, but till you've been there and get to do it.
That's exactly right, and that's something as you look forward to retirement, that's something you're going to be able to do more of.
Sure,
sure. Like that. All right, this next one's cool now. I like this one too.
This is, we were talking about allowing squirrel hunting and some other small game hunting, and we had one of our guys had some friends up in Alabama, and they wanted to come down and show us how much fun it is to hunt with squirrel dogs. Now, these are feist kind of dogs. You can see there's a bigger dog on the left and another dog in the background, a little black dog. But these dogs would go through the woods, and I guarantee you, when they put their feet on a tree and bark, you better put your eyes, because there'd be a squirrel somewhere in that tree. And we killed several squirrels that afternoon. Of course, some people now, they don't, a lot of people don't squirrel hunt, but that was the most fun. What a neat thing to do was to go with little dogs.
Yeah.
And, the dogs that stay with you, they don't run off.
Are you thinking about doing that now?
There's probably a few people, but it's really, Winston, I hate to say it, but it's a lost art.
Yeah.
You know, people used to do it, but now, you know, I'm not sure that many people still do it. They still hunt for them and sit under the tree and wait for them to come out. But
that's cool though. That's got to be fun to do because just working with dogs is fun.
Oh, it is.
When they producing like pointing quail or pointing squirrel.
Yep.
You know,
but that was one of these guys worked with Alabama Department of Conservation. I can't remember his name now, but we had a good time that afternoon, and we just spent a couple of hours, and we killed 5 or 6 squirrels and had a big time.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next one. Let's go to fishing now. What is this one here?
Winston, this fish was practically caught from your backyard. This is the world record pompano at the time that was caught by Barry Houston in St. Joe Bay.
Is that Barry Houston there?
Yes, that's Barry.
We've talked. I'm glad you brought this because Scott Lindsay and I have talked about this at length, and and I'm glad this is the first picture I've ever seen of this thing. I did not know this.
I heard about his fish.
Yeah.
He actually caught this pompano in St. Joe Bay, not far from where your house is down there, and he was throwing. I forget, it was a topwater bait. But he was throwing a topwater bait, and that pompano came up. You know, we all think of pompano or as bottom feeders, and you got to use shrimp or you know, something like that. But this pompano came up and hit a topwater bait, and he at first didn't know what he had. He thought he had a big trout or something. And when he got him in, he realized what he had, and he weighed him, and then he called and said, "Hey, I think I got something pretty special."
So he called you, or to call the department?
Well, Winston,
special,
it's been back in the 90s, and it's been so long. I'm trying to, I say 90s. I think it was right around 2000. It's been so long. I'm trying to remember whether he called me or I called him. But I heard about his fish, and anyway, we were able to get together, and then
this has been a Florida state record for 20-something years.
Yeah, and I doubt seriously. Well, you never want to say the record won't be broken, but that was an enormous fish.
We've run out of time, Stan. We got to get out of here. We got to finish this up later. Thank you all for watching Panhandle Outdoors, folks. You have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.